What's going on, y'all? It's Jason Reviews here, back at it again with another video. And as promised, final exams. We're gonna go next few days, all gonna be final exams battles. I'm just throwing out reviews of the most competitive, some of the rookies that I was the most impressed with, but not necessarily like my rank of the rookies. Might do something like that, maybe when they all get another battle in. Might rank the top 6. I think I did that for the last one. We did that at Let's Talk Battle Rap for the last one. But with that being said, this is the Yunus versus Miss Hustle review. Very, very fire battle. Ended up actually going on the day after with like the Civil War crowd. So that might be a little bit different in terms of the reception because it was mad energy in that battle. I'm not going to say compared to the final exams battles, but you can kind of tell there was a little bit of a difference. And both of them were crazy. In my opinion, it was the best battle from anything on that card, even though it wasn't on the card, So whether it's battle of the night, it's battle of final exams. Super impressed with Yunus. Hustle came not playing at all. So without further ado, let's get right into the battle. So starting out on Hustle in the first round, I think this does end up being her weakest round of the battle, which is something that was reported on from in the building, which with these app events, it is something to mention, or not to mention, but you definitely hear about these battles for 3 weeks from what happened in the building, similar to what probably happened with battles before there was live streams or any of that, right? So you would hear what happened, then you got to see it for yourself. So going into this, we heard that Yunus first is crazy. So Hustle goes. I think Hustle's first is decent. The Inna starts out talking about Yunus being a virgin. You don't know what it feels like to be in a box. Well, tonight we're going to change that. Thought that was cool. The Don't Be a Menace, Trey and the Dashiki, I thought that was pretty dope. The Violate Space, a good bump's always going to get reaction in battle rap. He from the space against someone that violates space, bumped Yunus. The lump sum bar, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Thought that's where Hustle, a little bit of that OBC shows, right? Where you could just edit that one out because I like the next one. He gets a round in each hand. It's 1-1. I like that. I'm ovulating. Perfect time to shoot the club up. I thought that was fire. I've heard a couple shoot the club up bars. But I thought that one was super fire. She had the shot at Mike P, and that's something that kind of hurts her a little bit later in the battle. Not this shot. Quick little shot at Mike P, right? And then how you gonna say you out the gate? You ain't even been off the porch. You know what I'm saying? And then she ends with the against this will, like hostages. She had a hostages bar. So Hustle's punching back to back here. Creative wordplay too. I like it. Not as many of the bombs as you might see later in the battle, but I thought bar for bar, her first was pretty solid. But you know what I'm saying? There is those peaks that she lacks as a performer, really carries her performance, which we'll see more in the second and the third. And then Yunus goes, little talk about his complaints being booked and says, I wanted chess. Oh, well, I still got a shapeshifter. Thought that was dope. Little bar early at Hustle with the BBLs and whatnot, which you're always going to hear when it comes to a Hustle battle. And then from there, Yunus gets to punch it back to back. The Ray Rice bar was dope. He had this little Garden of Eden kind of like scheme. He broke down like 3 or 4 references to it. And as a pen, you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of, for every punch, you might have 3 or 4 references thrown in there compared to your basic double entendre. Just, you get the concepts, maybe 2 concepts, a little bit in the setup, right? So he's going to, on paper, there's 2 things at play here. Hustle's going to earn points that you won't see on paper for being a little bit more performative and dominating the room more. And then Yunus, obviously, as the writer, whenever you're going to watch back battles, you're going to keep getting more and more. It's going to seem like he's just got a lot more on paper because he's got all those in-between bars. But what really gives him the first to me, which we'll go on here to talk about, is the peaks of his round. I thought that he, unlike Hustle, which, like I said, kind of flips as the battle goes on, the 4-5, that's a coat with 2 bodies like the Little Rascals. Fire. The 8 villain Dragon Ball bar was crazy. And then there's the whole woo with you pocket. The woo with you bullet go by you, the woo with you, stomp you out, the woo with you. Gets a double reaction for that. The haymaker is so fire. The stay with me pocket. At the end of the day, that whole second half pocket that Yunus got into is really his peak of the battle. And that's the type of potential flashes that get you to places you need to be. You're a heavy underdog in this battle. You come in and you could have just had a good round. You're already having a good round. Hits that mode in the first and is having a great round. You have to be better than what's expected of you to be great. And I feel like the first here really embodies that for Yunus. Pretty good round from Hustle. It's a good battle overall, right? But so far after the first, it was Yunus 1-0, very clear. getting into the second round, and this is where, like I said, you're going to see that flip as the battle goes on, and Hustle's second is strong, really, really back to back. But when I find that Hustle is like at her most dangerous, it's a lot of one-liners. You know what I'm saying? And I think this is going to be the perfect example of it. But when she gets on a roll of one-liners as opposed to like a big built-up haymaker, not saying she doesn't have that in her arsenal. She's a legend. You know what I'm saying? She can do both. But when she gets in that rapid fire, it doesn't have to be the most complex material, but that momentum wrapping, that is going to emphasize her performance, and that's what you get here in the second, right? Her strongest trait. The bad boy rights bar was fire. What magnums aren't in your arsenal? What would a virgin know about a rubber grip? Fire. And then here we go, the Q-tip bar, followed by the Matai bar, followed by you got a modem like Wi-Fi. The sorority, step with the divine nine. Toss the CD at, so that whole pocket. I mean, I know I said it quick because it's quick to write down, right? It might be simple bars, but it's making every bar hit harder and hit more effectively than the last. By the end, she hits the sorority bar. That's a haymaker, man. She gets to the can't get jiggy with this bar. That was a haymaker. She did the Yunus suppression, which got love in the building. It definitely was funny. I think the little airport scheme she did with it didn't really land, but the bar was fire. But then ends that with the slamming it. You got to cut the cap, Kung Lao. Crazy haymaker. So a little bit more of like an efficient round overall from Hustle. It's quick on paper, man, but when you watch her perform in motion, that's when Hustle's at her best, building the momentum with the raps. And her second was super fire. Yunus goes, and he starts out with this rebuttal about Hustle at a bar about him coming from the spaces, try to rebuttal that. I thought the rebuttal kind of missed and ends up having a slow start, like the way he delivered it. From there, though, he lands the horse head. Why would I need horse head like the Godfather? The Godfather horsehead bar was fire. He is the Mike P. Opens up the ghostwriting angle using like Mike P's slogan, like the W2. This is where all that gets tax returns, and I'm gonna get the W2. So he kind of shows it like an homage, and then leads into probably his craziest bar of the round. He has a multiple choice of the ghostwriters that Hustle's had, and when he gets to the last option, he says it could be any of them because she got D from all of the above. That was crazy, kind of flipping the whole, you've been going up Mike P's wife saying that she was hoeing, but you're known for doing the same thing, playing up the hypocrisy part of the angle, saying you should have shown your phone with the bars, instead you went on live with the other Jack. Clever, you know what I'm saying? The Genesis First Lady was a side piece, clever. The hustle, her friend screaming hustle, but she's not moving fast enough. So Yunus is having a fire second too. I think he cooks up a little bit late. I think it's a lot of sneaky stuff. Like he said, air it out, flip the function like an inverse. A lot of people don't even know that. That's math shit right there. Flip the function like an inverse is clever. I really like Yunus' second. I had Hustle winning the first clear when I first watched this, but when I rewatched this for this video, I'm not gonna lie, I really do appreciate Yunus' second a lot. I do personally edge Hustle the second round still, but I do think it's a debatable round on the playback, which goes to show Yunus impressed me a lot on the first watch, and on the playback is still having that pen effect. So really an overall great showing. I couldn't be mad at someone calling it Yunus 2-0 right now, but I personally had it 1-1 going into the third round. So starting off in the final round, Hustle goes and she has the promenade bar. I thought was cool, and then she gets into a pretty long portion here where she raps on Mike P. Mentioned it in the first, she had a shot, and I said later it would hurt her, and it's kind of this segment. She does land the Jill Scott bar out of it, right? Which is like a good bar. But this has nothing to do with Yunus. It's not counter-writing for the angle either. It's really just straight, like as if it was bars for Mike P. So, you have to take that into account. But then from there, she gets back at Yunus. She has the bar, the steal on an African slave trade, you know what I'm saying, put clearly. And for those of you that don't know, obviously, I think he mentions it himself in the battle, but Yunus is African. I believe he's West African. I could be incorrect, but flip there, then has a bunch of doc flips and doctor comparisons, like this doc who is Yunus's manager, for those that don't know, and shout out Doc, by the way, battle rap doctor, always been like one of the better people to talk to in this community, man. I love his energy, love what he brings to battle rap. But he goes to the doc flips. This doctor is going to say you won clear, and this doctor is going to, clear with a defibrillator. So I'm going to butcher it, but she had a bunch of comparisons between the two that was dope. And he then gets into the shoot until the gun. Sounds like I'm speaking your language. Insane haymaker in the building. And then after that lands the rigor mortis punch. So overall, she has the peak, the speaking your language bar. I do think, once again, The Mike taking the time to talk to Mike and around that once again feels a little bit more like the first, a little bit more condensed, right? I look at that. I think that you can't afford to take time in that. It's still a good round, but I think it opened the door to be a beatable round. You get into Yunus's third. He is the selling your box like a Girl Scout. I ain't gonna knock your cookie hustle. You know what I'm saying? Cookie hustle. I thought that was clever little lines. A lot of clever stuff. Then he does something similar to her in the third, which is why I think this third becomes super debatable. He takes shots at Casey J, and he is the Macaulay Culkin bar out of it, right? Which was fire. But it's just a KCJ. It was mad random. Couple shots at Casey. Says for Mozzie, which was funny. Mozzie had a rough time on final exams. Kind of got bodied by Casey. But it takes some time out. Takes a couple shots at Casey for some reason. But then he gets into the Tesla bar. SpongeBob. There's going to be a gorilla underwater for no reason. That was a haymaker. SpongeBob bar seemed to always find a new haymaker in battle rap, man. I didn't like the hold that thought bar that he kind of did. Shooting the brains. I actually was talking to Nikki. Shout out Nikki, another great person in this community, man. But I thought like the weird. I get what he was trying to do. Brains on her. Hold that thought. Kind of a weird change of pace, but then that goes right into the angling, which I feel like is really where he hits right at the end here. And for me, it's going to be what ends up edging the third to Yunus. He gets this angle comparing Jazz and Hustle, saying since Jazz is the hero, you want to be different, so you play the villain, kind of bringing up the villain title. And I thought it was a real kind of character assassination, character breakdown end to his third, which is not something you would expect from a rookie, let alone a rookie that's kind of the underdog. Maybe stick to your gun, just punch it out. Doing this whole breakdown, her antics. We know how Hustle can be involved with scandals, things like that. And then he says, it's something you're going to miss. Now, miss, pay attention. That was fire, creative concept, not your traditional punch the way you go about it, like a real talk to him portion of the third. And that was that little, just that bit of creativity that for me, still a deadlock third, but personally edged him the round. And even had a cool like call out-ish one at the end. I'm 30 in all classes, like Billy Madison, fire, you know what I'm saying? So leaves you with a good ending bar, very good at ending his rounds, which I love from him in this battle. But yeah, I think the third is super debatable. Second, Hustle gave the first to Yunus. I think the third can really go either way, but I love that last segment by Yunus, and that's why I edged him the battle 2-1 over Miss Hustle. But that is my full review here for Yunus versus Miss Hustle. Super dope battle. Like I said, I'm going to end up being probably a stock raiser for both, a good look, but especially for Yunus when it's your final exam, the pressure that's on you as an underdog, and then you rise to the occasion like this where there's a very fair amount of people giving Yunus the battle. I think it's debatable pretty much across the consensus, but a lot of people impressed with what he did, a lot of people giving him the W, and showed a lot here, not just pen, obviously a pen-heavy battler, something that if anyone who's been tapped in with Yunus knows that from the beginning, that was kind of one of the first traits, right, about his style that people noticed. But this ending portion, talking to her, you know what I'm saying, and the woo with you, kind of the performative aspect, those are the parts that are going to make an all-around battle rapper and make something that the people are tuned in for, which is why this battle has so much impact. Yes, there's a lot of pen work, but there's a lot of versatility. You know, if you watch this battle, you're getting more than just a pen versus performer matchup. And when you get that all around, you know what I'm saying, kind of that shock factor of it too, I think that's why you're seeing this battle talked about so much compared to the other final exams battles. But like I said, Fonz versus Wu probably out tomorrow. Might be T-Top and Capo, but it's looking like Fonz, Wu, and then Wusa, and then it'll be Capo versus T-Top the day after that. Liking what I'm seeing so far, and then once I'm fully done watching all of them, we'll be able to give, you know, maybe more detailed thoughts to the core about ranking the class, how I see them as a whole compared to each other. But it's been J Small Reviews again, y'all. Let me know who you had winning the battle down below, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one, man. Peace.